Hello everyone and welcome to Drive Steady. As car enthusiasts, we talk about cars and we try to personalize them through the aftermarket to make them our own because of some of the shortcomings from the manufacturers. Let's face it, how many times have you looked at a car and said, man, I wish it had a back seat, or man, I wish it had X, Y, and Z. So we wanted to introduce a segment and call it Build It, so we can discuss cars that us enthusiasts would like manufacturers to build, or if they've built them in the past, to bring back some of those features. To introduce the Build It segment, we decided to choose a truck that's very near and dear to our heart, and that's the Ford Raptor. Ah yes, the truck that could climb Mount Everest, take humongous jumps, and go 1 million miles an hour across a desert. And for all the wonderful things that this truck can do, for some reason Ford decided to put a V6 in it. So in this video we're asking Ford to bring back the V8 Raptor. But before we go into a little bit more detail, I want to talk about the first generation Raptor and what made it so great. So in the first generation, the Raptor came with two V8 engines, not one, yes, two. One was a 5.8 liter and the other was a 6.2 liter V8. For the purposes of this video, we're just going to stick with the 6.2 because it was more common, as the 5.4 eventually just got phased out because the 6.2 was just so popular. So the 6.2 came with 411 horsepower and 434 foot-pounds of torque. In comparison, the current generation Ford Raptor comes with a 3.5 liter EcoBoost V6. It produces 450 horsepower and 510 foot-pounds of torque, which are both very impressive. Even though the V6 in the current Raptor represents a 39 horsepower and 76 foot-pounds of torque jump over the previous generation V8, here at Drive Steady, we believe in the phrase that there is no replacement for displacement. Having a V8 rumble in a big truck, there's just something different about that experience. I personally haven't driven a V8 variant of any car in which I preferred the V6 variant over the V8 variant. I think the same applies for the Raptor as well. Many of the current owners of the V8 Raptor did not upgrade to the new Raptor because of the lack of the V8 engine. I mean, there's just something special about the V8, especially an American V8. It just adds so much value to the experience of driving. It's just indescribable. You jump into a V8 and you drive it around. It's got a specific rumble. It's got a tone. It's got the down low torque. And it's just, like I said, it's indescribable. Moving past the sheer experience of the V8 over the V6, I'm just going to show you guys some exhaust clips that I've compiled together, and hopefully I can illustrate the difference between the first generation V8 Raptor and the current generation V6 Raptor, and hopefully you can see the difference between the two. So here is the first generation Raptor with its 6.2 liter V8. Doesn't that sound just right? The V8 just rumbles and sounds great at any RPM. You guys agree with me? You see what I'm talking about? And now the current generation Raptor with its V6. I don't know about you guys, but to my ear that sounds out of place for a big American truck. I mean, listen to the difference. When comparing stock to stock, the exhaust note of the new Raptor just doesn't belong there. It sounds somewhat similar to a BMW engine, something like the straight six that they make with the twin turbos and etc. for like a smaller sports car or a sporty daily driver. I just don't feel like it fits. So we've kind of talked about the differences between the first generation Raptor and the second generation Raptor. I also wanted to mention a couple reasons why Ford should build a V8 Raptor. It could possibly make financial sense for them. Number one, look at the popularity from the first generation Raptor. the evidence of the demand, and the resale value. Some of the older Raptors, the ones with the 6.2 liter V8, are selling for 30s, $40,000 range with lots of miles. So that should show Ford that there's still a demand for this V8 Raptor. Second, and as I've mentioned a couple times already, I feel like the V8 is better suited for a performance truck. It just will enhance the experience that you want in a performance vehicle, performance truck, whatever you want to call it. Third, I feel like the V6 just isn't special. It's used across multiple platforms in the Ford lineup. It just seems like a generic V6 EcoBoost. I know you guys are going to yell at me and say it's used in the Ford GT and blah, 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 but still, the Ford GT is an entirely separate beast and it's a true supercar, hypercar, whatever you want to call it. We're talking about a Ford Raptor here. And lastly, Dodge has confirmed that they're going to build a TRX Ram or a Ram TRX, which will supposedly be powered by a Hellcat engine. Can you imagine that? A Dodge Ram with over 700 horsepower? That should be quite an experience and something that we would definitely look forward to. So what's the verdict? We want Ford to build a Raptor with a V8 engine, possibly put the new GT500 engine in it. It's supposedly going to have over 700 horsepower and I think would compete well with that Hellcat powered Ram. Or they could somehow modify the current 6.2 that they have in the F-150 lineup. And hey, if you want to throw in an added bonus, put a manual transmission in it. See how the market will react to it. And Ford, try and keep it close to 70 grand so us normal people can possibly afford it. That would be much appreciated. And with that, we come to the conclusion of our Build It episode featuring the Ford V8 Raptor. Till next time, drive steady.